Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to React After Raw. It's the return episode. This here is my buddy Matt Donato. I am AuSSy, and you might notice somebody's missing here. That's right. Unfortunately, Alec has decided to step down from his hosting duties of React After Raw. Therefore, you're stuck with these two random jabronis. We'll try and do Alec some justice here by continuing React After Raw. And as always, we're open to all your fan questions. We want to talk about what you guys want to talk about in regards to tonight's Monday Night Raw. But Matt, we've got some solid topics to discuss here.
I absolutely agree. A lot of new information coming out of this Monday Night Raw leading into Payback. A lot of huge developments for some, maybe not others, but definitely a lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah, and we're going to cover the big we're going to hit the big items here. We're going to try and keep it within a 30-minute or so show, but we're going to touch on the big topics, such as Daniel Bryan returning to Raw only to relinquish the Intercontinental Championship. We're going to talk about the tag team division and why it's bulking up, it's boosting. We're talking about that main event coming up for the Sunday's Payback. How did they do with pushing that main event? We'll talk about that. And, of course, the Elimination Chamber is back just as well as React After Raw is that. And, of course, Neville and Cena. Why don't we start with John Cena versus Neville.
Gotta get that right.
In this week's U.S. Open Challenge. Now, I tweeted out on our Twitter page, which you can follow, which is @RopeLakeWrestling. It's right in the description here if you don't know how to spell it. I said the thing about the U.S. Open Challenge is we already knew that John Cena and Rusev were going at it in an I Quit match at Payback. So doesn't that kind of spoil the U.S. Open part of the match, the actual title portion of the match? I mean, for me, it's like I know who's going to win. It immediately takes that out of the match. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree. It definitely does because, like you said, we know that Cena's going to be fighting Rusev over the title, so it wouldn't make sense to have Neville win. So we know he's not going in to win. But with that being said, I don't know about you, but I thought they did a hell of a job booking this match. I think this is one of the best booking jobs that they have done in a long time. They were able to preserve both Neville and this match. I don't want to say Cena because Cena really doesn't need preserving at this point in his career, but to preserve Neville and this match at the same exact time, making Neville look wickedly strong coming out of this. I thought they did a fantastic job.
And that was something that you and I were talking about during the show, and it was a theme of the show, just some excellent booking decisions. And you and I have kind of joked around, every bad decision is Michael Hayes. Every good decision is Jimmy Jacobs. Jimmy Jacobs obviously just starting right after WrestleMania with the creative team. We don't know how much control he really has over this stuff, but there has been a noticeably different theme in the booking. Things seem to make a little bit more sense. Things are gelling a little bit better together. That's not to say everything is A+, but I agree. Neville, Cena, they booked it perfectly. The finish was perfect. It protects the champion. It makes Neville look extremely strong, and it got the heat on Rusev, which honestly Rusev has been lacking here in the past couple of weeks. Obviously, with the whole Lana situation, people are chanting for Lana. They want Lana. That gets him heat in that sense, in a Mark Marrow type of sense. But now he comes out and attacks the IWC darling Neville, and that's the best way, as you know and I know, to get heat. We want to know what you guys think, or what you guys thought about the Neville and John Cena match. Twitter was a buzz about it. You can comment below here, and we'll continue on with the show right now. I want to talk about the tag team division for about a year and change or so. Probably even longer than that, let's be honest.
Yeah, definitely longer than that.
I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it is what it is. The tag team division for a long time has been absolutely terrible. Just a lack of tag teams, for a better way to put it. Right now, though, I think we're seeing an influx of really solid tag teams. What do you think?
I completely agree. Absolutely agree. I'm actually more excited now than I had been in a very long time for the tag team division. seeing teams like the New Day. I know a lot of people don't like them. I like the direction they're going, and I'm hoping for some good things for them in the future. Because I think all three of them are extremely talented. I think all three of them serve a purpose, need to be in that spotlight. I'm glad they're kind of getting it now, enjoying where they're going. You got Cesaro and Tyson Kidd, which honestly, off the bat, I was not thinking anything good was going to come out of this tag team. It literally is a thrown together tag team, and 9 times out of 10 that doesn't work. This happened to be one of the times it does end up working out. I'm enjoying what they're doing. You have Luke Harper and Eric Rowan coming back together, which I said to you during Raw, I thought was a brilliant decision. Very, very smart move, because neither one of these guys were doing anything solo. And I think they bring more to WWE as a tag team because they've been built like that for so long. Adding them into the mix is incredible. You have the Lucha Dragons, which we were talking about. It was a shame we didn't get to see them because they are so over, with the crowd. People love to see them. I enjoy seeing them. But, just having them as well, I think the tag team division is starting to look really great. And can't forget Titus O'Neil and Darren Young. We were just talking about it. The Viennettes I've enjoyed them. You've enjoyed them.
They've been entertaining.
Right. And I think that it's been really showcasing Titus O'Neil's character. That it's been showcasing, his charisma. And, you have said it more than anybody. This guy needs to be pushed. And I agree with you 110% on that.
And right now we've actually got somebody commenting in here watching the show. We thank you for tuning in. And it looks like Juggler91 says, I miss random people joining up to be tag teams. That's an opinion you don't necessarily see all the time, but it has worked, like you said, with Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. Not a lot of people were excited about that. I think primarily because people thought Cesaro deserved better, and maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But I certainly don't think this tag team with him and Kidd has hurt him any. If not, it's actually given him some time to, reacclimate, reboost. But you brought up the fact that Rowan and Harper back together. You and I were very vocal when they broke up, said it was stupid. It didn't make sense for them to break up the way they did. There wasn't really a storyline that led to them breaking up, just the Wyatt family Viennettes where Bray was letting them go. But why did they ever go after each other? Didn't really make much sense. Now they're back together again without really a storyline, but I'm glad to see them back together. Glad to see the primetime players back together and entertaining. They're giving them a shot on Raw. That's a big deal.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. I don't know why the Lucha Dragons were left off of tonight's show. Doesn't make much sense. Just because they had so much steam they've been building, and then all of a sudden they're going to leave them off the show. Kind of makes you wonder if there's something more to that. Maybe there's somebody's tweaked something or whatever that's the case may be. But I'm excited for the tag division, and I know you will agree when I say this. Everybody in the tag team division right now is just warming the seat for Enzo Amore and Big Cass. Those two guys, when they come up, I think are going to I've said it a million times. Maybe this is unfair to them. They're going to be the New Age Outlaws of this generation of superstars. Just a very exciting and entertaining tag team. So bright future for the tag division. Even the Vaudevillains and some of the other tag teams in NXT. Just some really good influx of talent coming up in the tag division. So that'll be interesting to see. But speaking of things that are interesting to see, the Elimination Chamber. You, I, Alec, pretty much the entire rope break, group of rope breakers were upset when we found out that the Elimination Chamber was to be no more. Probably the big excuse that was used, and I think Stephanie was the one that used the excuse that not a lot of arenas are able to hold the structure anymore because of the big LED scoreboards and whatnot that they've got hanging up there. But Corpus Christi, Texas, apparently can house the Elimination Chamber. I think that's kind of a BS argument, anyways, because all they need to do is find one arena per year that can hold that structure. It's not like it's a legitimate argument.
I think it was just they didn't want to pay the money to have the structure put together, pay the man hours, manpower to put it up. So I think there was more money than. but that was a more viable excuse, I guess.
Right. So now we get the Elimination Chamber to return. We don't really have too much information on it. One can only hope that the Intercontinental Championship that was just vacated this week by Dana Bryan, which we will get into, one can only hope that that is where the next Intercontinental Champion is crowned. Could you imagine seeing an Elimination Chamber with the likes of Bad News Barrett, Dolph Ziggler, Sheamus, Neville? I mean,
yeah, that would be fantastic. Yep.
That's the crop of guys that I would be interested in.
Inside of an Elimination Chamber, that's huge, because if you think of the history of the Chamber, the only titles that were ever really defended inside of it were the heavyweight and the WWE. The main titles get that opportunity. So to put that Intercontinental Championship in that mix now says that they're taking this title way more seriously, and as it should be. And I think it would be huge. But I do want to ask you this. Do you think because of the time between Payback and Elimination Chamber, it's only a 2-week in between span, do you think that's going to be enough time to build anything? Do you think that they care about building? Because I've been reading a lot of people who are upset over the fact that there's not going to be a whole lot of time between pay-per-views to build anything that's going to make anybody want to view it. That being said, it is for those who aren't WWE Network subscribers, unfortunately, kind of screws those over who have been paying, because now they're getting 2 free pay-per-views. If you aren't a subscriber, you can get it for free now. So in that sense, I guess it doesn't matter if it's good or bad for those people. But for those people who are paying for the network, it's kind of one of those. And it's another. You were just talking about this earlier. It's like, why do you keep giving away free network? Like, it almost seems like every month. And now it's not only every month. Now it's 2 pay-per-views in this month.
Yeah.
So,
and an interesting thing to add to that is not only is it 2 pay-per-views in the month of May, which is again a free month, so essentially 2 free previews, as I like to call them, but Money in the Bank is actually, I believe, June 14th, and Payback is May 17th. So you're going to have 3 pay-per-views in the span of 1 month's time. So that's crazy to think about. Now, in regards to the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, I'm not sure where they're going with this. If this is going to be just like the King of the Ring tournament, where it was just the Elimination Chamber is going to be on, and that's really it, because I wouldn't complain if that was the case. I mean, it's extra. It's extra. We weren't expecting this. We're getting this extra. I don't need to see a bunch of other matches on the card. If I get that Elimination Chamber match and it's a meaningful match surrounding the Intercontinental Championship, I'll be all for it. And that really is the way to get people to subscribe to the network, is to offer that type of free content on there, or that type of content on there that's not going to be available elsewhere. So, people aren't going to be able to go on their pay-per-view provider and get that. They're not going to be able to get the King of the Ring tournament if they keep doing that. These are cool little add-ons that they're adding onto the network, and I dig it. If it's the Elimination Chamber, I got a question for you. I'm not really sure. The pods.
Right.
Is there enough room above the pods? We've seen the Shawn Michaels elbow drop. We've seen the frog splash. Could we see a red arrow?
I knew you were going to go there. Oh, man. I think it's possible. He's the kind of guy I think who would risk that, even if he was told not to. I think he is the kind of guy who would risk that. That would be insane.
You want to talk about getting over? That would cement. That would be a defining moment.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be shown in highlight reels for years to come. That would be awesome.
It'd be crazy. But I mean, just thinking about that Elimination Chamber, who do you think belongs in that match, and who do you think should be maybe a front runner to win that Intercontinental Championship?
Honestly, I would have to go, I think, Wade Barrett, because I feel not only can he handle it and has handled it in the past, I feel like right now, being the King of the Ring, it's not a bad thing, but I'm afraid that they're going to go down the road where he's just going to eventually job to somebody. And it's not that I don't mind him putting someone like Neville over, but they have a habit of doing that and then ignoring the person that was just, I don't want to use the term buried, because that's not what it would be, but they would ignore Wade Barrett and just focus on Neville. So I think it would be good for him to get that title back, and then, maybe have that meaningful feud with Neville, where eventually Neville might win. But I think, even though I'm not a huge fan, I know you're not a huge fan either. I think the way Sheamus is going right now, it could possibly be him. I feel like they kind of wanted him for that spot to begin with. When they were first doing the VNS, they want to build him as this monster heel. They really want to put him over. And I know you said it, you're kind of starting to get into the whole Sheamus thing. I'm actually right there with you. At first, when I first saw his hair tonight slicked back, I wasn't necessarily for it, but you brought up the guy at the bar that you don't want to mess with, and it clicked for me, and I'm like, you're 100% right. This works for him. And I'm starting to really dig, I like his new theme song. I like the character. It fits him. So I could see him going with the title at some point, maybe even an elimination here. But I think that'd be a good way to really solidify this build for him. So I think if I had to pick, I would say Barrett and Sheamus are the two guys I think right now should win it. And maybe build something where Neville eventually, wins it, because they are building him pretty hot, right, especially after his almost victory over Cena. And
that's been the case for Neville, the almost victory. He has gotten a couple wins, but he comes in, I believe, what was it, the night after WrestleMania for the first U.S. Open Challenge, puts a great match on with Cena. He goes to the King of the Ring finals, puts a great match on with Barrett. He had a great match with Seth Rollins as well. It's clear that they're thinking very highly of Adrian Neville. And my thing is, if they choose to go with a Barrett-Neville storyline in this Elimination Chamber, wow, that's a giant push for both of these guys, because they're fresh off of that King of the Ring deal, and now they're going for this Elimination Chamber thing too. That not only makes the title a big deal to me, that makes those two guys a big deal to me.
Yep.
And I think you're right. I would, if I were booking it, I would book Barrett to go over. Maybe not. I would probably book him to go over Neville to win it. And then you continue that underdog story, and you've got some build there. Because what people don't understand is people, immediately think, oh, if Neville doesn't win, he's buried. Or if Neville doesn't win this, or if Neville doesn't win that. No, what happens is if Neville doesn't win, he's now chasing the title possibly up till SummerSlam, where you have a much bigger payoff. It's kind of like the Daniel Bryan thing. People want him to win the title here, and then there, and then here. And it built up. It built up, and then it was a huge payoff at WrestleMania 30. And I think that this could be similar, obviously on a smaller scale, but that remains to be seen. The thing that sucks here is we're talking about an Intercontinental Champion, crowning a new Intercontinental Champion. We've yet to talk about the Intercontinental Champion that had to relinquish that title tonight, Daniel Bryan, giving up the title. A really sad moment. I mean, once again, our emotions were kind of being tugged at, because last time before the Royal Rumble, we came out and did this. We thought, oh, is he going to retire? What's going to happen? He comes out and he gives us good news. This time, bad news. No pun intended with Barrett as a contender. But what do you think about Daniel Bryan relinquishing the title? What do you think this means for his career? Do you think we ever see him in a WWE ring again? And if so, when?
I don't know. That's tough to say, because like he said, it's up in the air. They don't really know. It could be weeks. It could be months. He could never wrestle again. And I know there's probably a lot of people who immediately saw that and, oh, it's storyline, they're building this up. I don't necessarily believe that. They definitely have done that many times in the past. I don't think this is one of those times. This is a legitimate injury, and I do think that this is an injury that could keep him from competing. Or I wouldn't say keep him from competing. I would say an injury where it would be recommended that he was kept away from competing. I don't see Daniel Bryan as the kind of guy that could just stop wrestling. I think even if they tell him, you can't, wrestle anymore, he's still going to come back and wrestle. Shawn Michaels did that. Edge did that. But it leads to the question, though, if he does do that and he's told he can't wrestle but still continues to come back, will that mean that the WWE is going to kind of put a, almost kind of put bubble wrap around him in a sense and really try to protect him, so therefore he won't win any more titles? He he's not going to be in any kind of main event pushes. He's just going to be that kind of guy off to the side because they don't want to risk any kind of injuries for him.
Right. And Juggler91 chiming in again says, I came in while he was away on leave, so I never got his popularity. But getting the title shot at WrestleMania 2 years in a row and having to vacate it has to hurt. That's exactly right. And that's exactly what you're talking about when you refer to the bubble wrap theory.
Yep.
It's kind of like what happened with Dolph Ziggler. He had those concussions. He comes back, and everybody wants him to get thrust right back into that spot. But the thing is WWE has to trust him and trust that he's not going to get injured again. 2 times in a row now. It's really been difficult. If you're a Daniel Bryan fan, he finally catches that brass ring only to let it slip out of his hand. And it's not his fault, obviously. Nobody wishes injuries on anybody except for Sheamus. But no, all joking aside, Daniel Bryan potentially not wrestling ever again is a scary thought. It's just odd to think, you know what I mean, that these injuries happen like this. Poor Daniel Bryan, that's all I got to say, is maybe he goes and gets the proper surgery this time instead of opting for herbal or, whatever he was doing before, the natural treatments, which were working for him. Maybe they were just prolonging the inevitable, which is maybe that he needs to go and get some sort of surgery done. But we want to hear what you guys think in regards to Daniel Bryan. So please feel free to tweet us at Rope Break Wrestling. You can comment along with Juggler91 here on the React After Raw chat room on YouTube. And we want to hear what you guys think. We're going to roll into our final topic of the night, unless you guys have anything else that you want us to cover. If you do, please let us know on the social media outlets. But we're going to talk about the main event push here. We saw the finish tonight. You said it was a very safe finish. Why do you say that?
Because, they have a tendency to do this right before, this is right before the pay-per-view, right before they want to include all of their guys. So they kind of go with the same scenario every time. Mm-hmm. And in this scenario, they went with Dean Ambrose being the last guy to go over. Each guy has to hit their finish so that way it can build and really make it seem intense. And this week, was the last guy to hit the finish was Dean Ambrose. They're in his hometown. Of course, they want to try to get that big pop. Interesting and not interesting in the fact that Kane was out there with the chair. I honestly didn't really care.
Yeah,
I was kind of
like you share the same sentiment with many people.
I understand what they were doing and I get it, but it really wasn't necessary. I think they should just let it play out the way it was going to play out. But I think, there could have been a lot of other scenarios they could have went. I feel like they went the safe route. They didn't want to do anything too crazy before the pay-per-view. They didn't want to do, they wanted to make sure it got the build it needed, but didn't go too overboard, didn't injure the guys involved. And it's just replaying the same, go home Raw finish that we're used to seeing, where every guy has to hit every guy involved in the main event hits their finisher. One guy's left standing.
It's like the cliche Royal Rumble go home Raw, where the whole locker room floods out.
Absolutely. Yep. Same exact. Yep. It's just the same thing over and over. There wasn't a whole lot of thought going into it. I say safe because it wasn't bad booking. It just wasn't great booking. You know what I mean?
It wasn't anything different.
Right, exactly. It was safe, in the sense that I can't really say, oh, that was really terrible ending, but I can't really jump out of my seat and get super excited over it.
Right.
So to me, it was safe.
So we've got Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins in the match. You've got the added, I wouldn't say interest, but you've got Kane out there. You got J&J Security. For some reason, I'm kind of nervous that maybe Rollins loses this match. The reason I say that is because of the whole stipulation there that Triple H offered in the opening segment, which was, Kane, if Rollins doesn't walk out champion, maybe we don't need your help anymore. For a couple weeks now, they've been leading on that maybe Kane would be fired or Kane wanted to quit. The Raw that we were at, Kane gave his 2 weeks and then rescinded it or whatever. So if Kane really doesn't want to be part of the Authority anymore, one would almost be led to believe that he doesn't give a shit if Seth Rollins wins, which could mean maybe he screws Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
If that's the case, who takes the title? Who should take the title?
I would have to go with Randy Orton. I know a lot of people would probably go towards Dean Ambrose because he's so over, but I just don't see him as being an interesting character the way that he's being booked. He's definitely over with the crowd, but I don't think that has anything to do with anything that WWE has done. Mm-hmm. It's solely based on who he is, people, his promo work, things like that. A lot of the hardcore fans, who know him as Jon Moxley and the independents, really getting into him. But, I'm a huge Ambrose fan. I have been since the Shield. He was my favorite guy, but they haven't done anything since they split that really makes me interested in his character. Mm-hmm. And I always use this terminology. I always say that when somebody holds the WWE championship, it puts a spotlight on them and exposes all of the flaws. Mm-hmm. It really highlights all the things that are wrong. And if they put the title on Ambrose, I feel like people are going to get tired of it, tired of him, tired of the title, where I think it'd be safer and I think smarter to put it on a guy like Orton who has had the title. And I think right now where he is at character-wise, I think could flourish with having that. I still don't think Reigns is ready. There's still that fear that they're going to still try to keep. It seems they're keep pushing them to have a match with Rollins, and I'm feeling like maybe SummerSlam he's going to have a match, and
that's just not the time or the place.
Yep, I agree with you 100%, but I feel like they're pushing him, and I feel like that's what it's going to end up leading to. I'm worried too that Rollins could lose the title. I don't think he will, though. Part of me just feels like it doesn't make sense. So I don't give WWE that much credit, but I give them a little bit of credit in thinking hopefully that they're not stupid enough to drop the title this early, because the entire build, the entire cash-in would be completely pointless at this point if they just had him drop the title because Kane interfered. Like,
it would be mindless.
How many memes are gonna pop up? Oh, Kane interfered again.
Yep, I agree with you. The question is here, and I'm excited that's a fatal four-way. I like the guys that are in there. Might have even made a little bit more. Made it more interesting if it were just the 3 Shield guys, but maybe we get that down the road sometime. Obviously, Randy Orton is in there for a reason. I don't think it would be smart for him to hold the title again right now. I think he's in a good babyface position, even with the hardcore fans. I think if he were to take that title from Rollins, he would lose his face position with those hardcore fans because people just don't want to see Randy Orton champion again. They want to see one of those, at least Ambrose or Rollins. Some people wouldn't mind Reigns as the champion either. It remains to be seen. It should be an interesting and intriguing match. That's the most important part here. And Juggler91 jumps in one more time and says, I was hoping they would build to the return of the Big Red Monster. You and I, obviously, I think are in agreement with Juggler and pretty much everybody else in the IWC when we say we need the Big Red Monster.
One more time. Yep. Before he goes.
And before we go, let me just touch on the Big Red Monster, which is obviously the preferred version of Kane. If that Big Red Monster is to come out, I think there's only really one logical way to do so, and I think it's Bray Wyatt extracting the Big Red Monster out of corporate Kane. We saw Wyatt tonight. You had said you don't really care for the feud between Ryback. It doesn't really make too much sense. The way they've built Bray Wyatt is a lot of talk, nothing to back it up. I said that before WrestleMania. I'll say it again. He probably gets his win over Ryback. I would assume it would be a crushing loss for him. But again, I wouldn't be surprised. Ryback needs to hit the dresser and find something that matches when he comes out. But Bray Wyatt, do you think Bray Wyatt Kane, that was the initial matchup, SummerSlam a couple years back. Terrible match. I don't care what anybody says.
Yep,
The Inferno match, it was garbage.
Yep.
I don't know who's to fault for that.
I think what it was, they put too much stock in the gimmick of the match, and the gimmick. It wasn't an Inferno match that we would remember. It was a very lame, like they had like three volunteer firefighters in each corner, all of them holding extinguishers. Like it just didn't feel like they were so overly safe with this match. It didn't really feel extreme. It just felt lame. That coupling with the fact that Kane isn't, the same guy he used to be, Bray being sort of fresh on the main roster. I think those three things really collided and really made it a mess of a match.
Definitely. I think Bray Wyatt and Kane could be an intriguing feud, maybe for Kane to ride off into the sunset that way. We've got one more comment, it looks like, from Marcelica91. He says there's three faces, and I'm glad that they brought this up. This is a great question / comment. I'm glad this was brought up here at the end of the show. There's three faces in the main event match. You mentioned this. Should one of them turn heel? Maybe Reigns. You had at first said maybe Ambrose, because you think Ambrose would be better suited as a heel.
I think his work fits better. I think it's not that he can't be a babyface, but they're not taking him off of that leash. The way that he's being booked as a babyface isn't working for him or his character.
Well, I think as the lunatic fringe, which I know you and I both kind of despise that nickname, as that character, there's no conceivable way that they push him as the top face in the company ever. Pushing this guy that's crazy and shit. It's almost like the Mick Foley, Brian Pillman type thing where they could be towards the top, but never the guy. You know what
exactly,
I mean? Yep. So I think I agree with you in terms of that. But he says maybe Reigns, or he or she says maybe Reigns. Do you think that Reigns would be suited good as a heel?
I think that would be a good move, too. I think it would be different. I think it would be interesting to see what he would do as a bad guy. I think he's got this pent-up emotion from being booed at the Royal Rumble, continually being booed at live events, house shows, and reading these things on the internet, all the IWC fans, they're saying about him he's not ready. I think all that is great fuel for that a huge heel turn for him. So I think it could work for either one of those guys. But the only reason I don't think that would happen is for the fact that they keep continually pushing him for that title. Unless we see some crazy twist where Seth Rollins turns babyface for some reason and then Reigns turns heel, then I can see that feud. But I think they want him for that title. They want him to be the next big babyface. So I don't see them turning Reigns heel. Not that he can't handle it or I don't want it. Just logically, I don't see them doing that. He's like their golden child. Right. The guy that's trying to push to the top, where Ambrose, I think, is that interchangeable guy where he's over with the crowd, but I don't think that anybody backstage really gives a shit. I don't think that they care one way or another. So I think if anybody were to turn heel, it would be Ambrose. And there has been rumors before that they were trying to turn him heel, I think, before Mania. So I think this could be the opportunity to do that. Unless it's Orton, but that would be...
That wouldn't make sense.
Yeah,
he was just heel not that long ago. Although it wouldn't be the first time.
Right. I was just gonna say that.
I think that Ambrose makes the most sense, probably to turn heel, only because obviously, like you said, they want Reigns to be the top baby face at the end of the road. The best way to do that is to build sympathy. If Ambrose was to turn on Reigns, now you got both the Shield brethren screwing Roman Reigns over, max sympathy for Roman Reigns. The other part of me feels like that could be dangerous because most fans align with either Ambrose or Rollins in regards to the hardcore fans. Yep. Now, both of them on one side versus Reigns could even double up against Reigns here, so that remains to be seen. I think Reigns turning heel would be cool in that Rocky Maivia sense. The way you said it, he's got the pent-up emotion. He could still come back and be a baby face down the road. And Marcelica91 says, heel Reigns versus face Lesnar at SummerSlam. I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. I think maybe, if anything, we get a triple threat for the title with Reigns and Rollins and Lesnar. If nothing else happens, Lesnar will get his title shot at SummerSlam. So if it's a heel Reigns and a face Lesnar, it would be heel heel Reigns and heel Rollins versus face Lesnar, which could be interesting. But that remains to be seen what happens there. Marcel also says, I think Ambrose will win Money in the Bank. That would be perfect. I also think that's a possibility. That's a good idea, it's also a possibility for Roman Reigns to win Money in the Bank. I could very easily see a scenario where we get the complete opposite of WrestleMania 31, where you've got Rollins and Lesnar going into the main event of SummerSlam, and then all of a sudden Roman Reigns had won the Money in the Bank, and now the tables are turned on Rollins. Reigns comes in, he screws Rollins over the same way, and then you also have a continuing storyline with Lesnar, like, hey, he got screwed both times. He gets the face sympathy. Maybe Reigns turns heel then. Who knows? Lots of different scenarios. We're still pretty far out from SummerSlam.
Yep,
but a lot of interesting stuff. A lot of cool stuff that we talked about for this Raw. I thought this Raw was pretty solid.
I completely agree. Yeah, the booking was solid all the way through. There wasn't really anything about the show that I really was bored with or anything like that. I mean, I thought that there was great continuity from start to finish. Mm-hmm. That's something that I'm very big on. And yeah, normally, it's not often that you can say that the booking was solid throughout the entire show, but this is one of those times, and I gotta think that it's the Jimmy Jacobs effect.
That's what we're calling it.
It's little known fact. Jimmy Jacobs is actually a fan of rope break wrestling and has been listening to what we've been saying. Yep. So that's not true at all. It's not true.
Well, we also can't confirm that it's not true.
This is true. Good point. Very good point. Very good point.
Jimmy, let us know yourself either way. If you hate us or if you love us, tell us so we can confirm here. And don't forget that time we saw you in your car at Raw. Obviously, our faces are ingrained in his mind.
Obviously, yeah.
But look at this. Right at the buzzer, Mitchell Jones jumps in and he says, I think if Reigns wins, he should go heel. He gets booed anyways.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
I was thinking that too because I have been thinking him being a heel would be a good idea since the Royal Rumble, because that's kind of what they did with The Rock, like you brought that up. He was getting booed, and instead of trying to force him, which is kind of the pattern these days, they're getting booed, I don't give a shit. Keep forcing him. Right. He's a babyface. Instead of forcing him, just go with what the crowd's doing. I just feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like that's just an easier way to.
Well, it's a more realistic way of doing it. So when The Rock or Rocky Maivia then went on that heel turn, it was just raw emotion. Hey, I'm getting booed. People are saying, die, Rocky, die. That's the type of shit that angers and upsets people in real life and causes them to, heel turn in real life, so to speak. So, I think that makes sense. I think Mitchell's right. And of course he's right, because he's a staff writer on ropebreakwrestling.com.
Absolutely.
It makes complete sense. And Marcelica91 says Rollins would be a better face anyways. I think Rollins would make a good face. I know he makes a great heel.
I don't know that he would make a better face. I think, like you said, he'd make a great face. Mm-hmm. I think his heel work has been
flawless.
Top of the flawless is the perfect word. I'm not even gonna add any more to that. Flawless is the perfect word.
And I'm kind of a Seth Rollins homer. I love Seth Rollins, always have. He's always been my favorite guy. I think he could do good face work as well. But good face work always depends on great heel work as well. So if Roman Reigns were to establish himself as a great heel, like Mitchell said, or if you had another great heel to duel with a face Rollins, that would make sense. Otherwise, it's very difficult to make that transition. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yep.
But I think we pretty much are going to wrap it up here, trying to stay true to that half an hour or so storyboard that we've got. We've enjoyed bringing back React. Maybe we'll do it again, right?
Hell yeah.
I think we're going to keep trying to do this. If nothing else, at least every go-home episode of Raw. We'll try and do it when we can. And if you're still wondering where the hell Alex at, once again, Alex has unfortunately stepped down from his hosting duties of this show, but that does not mean he can't be found, because you can still find Alex Major Impact on ropebreakwrestling.com, where he's cranking out very important and up-to-date articles every single day. And we're going to try and do a better job of getting that stuff back to you now that myself and Matt don't have quite as many obligations. we will be able to bring the hottest news and rumors to you on RopeBreakWrestling.com. And of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Rope Break Wrestling. If you're like, how the hell do you spell that? Like, that's a stupid handle. We couldn't fit Rope Break Wrestling.
It's the only thing we had.
All right.
That's what they gave us.
And the way you spell that is right in the description here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this video. And Matt, give them a little rant on friendship and why they should tell their friends about Rope Break.
You think they're ready for this?
I don't know. I mean, if we're gonna bring React back, and we're gonna do it in Alec's honor here because Alec isn't hosting tonight, I think Alec would find it only right that you bring the hot heat to him right away.
I think it would be a little bit disrespectful to Alec if I didn't.
That's right.
So I think I have to. So listen up. If you got friends that don't know about Rope Break, that's a huge, huge issue for us, huge issue for you because you're being neglectful. We don't like neglect here at Rope Break. It's not cool. So help them out. It's very simple, very simple. All you got to do is you have to follow us on Twitter. He already gave you the handle at Rope Break Wrestling. It's in the description. Like our page on Facebook, facebook.com/Rope Break Wrestling. Again, in the description. It's that simple. All you got to do is click. Tell them to go on over there. Hell, even bookmark our site.
Make it your homepage. Make it your homepage.
There you go. Make it your homepage. Absolutely. I like the way this guy thinks. Make it your homepage. Why? Because why would you want to go somewhere else and have to sift through all that garbage, all that trash, just to find
ads, all the BS pop-ups,
absolute nonsense, just to find the gems? We do that for you. We find the gems, we throw them on our page. All you got to do is click, look, it's there, that easy, and then you can go on with your life. It's that simple. So tell your friends, bring them over. It's really that simple.
I know. It's like, it's almost weird talking about it now, just because you would think after this long everybody would know, but I guess there's still some people.
Maybe it's just I don't understand how there's still people out there that don't know about Rope Break Wrestling.
That's right. If you don't know about Rope Break, it's likely that you're in the bleachers, and our expert advice to you would be get out of the bleachers. Get in the ring with RopeBreakWrestling.com. The latest WWE news and rumors all the time on our website, on our Twitter, on Facebook, wherever the hell you want us to be. We're there, and especially here on YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe. And, of course, tell your friends like Matt said. For Matt Donato, for our boy Alec at home, and for myself here, what's my name again? AuSSy. I am your host, AuSSy. This has been React After Raw. Until next time, stay classy, jabronis. You smell what the AuSSy is cooking?
A little bit.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
A little bit. Smells pretty good.